The laughter started before she even sat down, not loud, not open, but sharp enough to cut through her chest. A folded paper slid across the desk and stopped right in front of her hands. She opened it slowly. 2 words written in dark ink stared back at her. "You don't belong." Her fingers froze, her throat tightened, around her, chairs scraped. Whispers moved like poison through the room. The teacher kept writing on the board. The class kept breathing like nothing was wrong, but something was wrong, very wrong. This wasn't the first time she had been humiliated, but this time, it felt different, because instead of lowering her head, instead of swallowing the pain, she lifted her eyes. And what she did next would silence the room, shake the school, and force everyone to face the truth they tried to ignore. Her name was Amara Johnson. She was 16 years old, quiet, observant, intelligent. Amara wasn't loud. She wasn't rebellious. She didn't look for trouble. She just wanted to learn. But being a black girl in a mostly white private school meant learning something else too. How to stay invisible. How to ignore stares. How to pretend jokes didn't hurt. Every morning, she walked into the building with her shoulders tight. Every classroom felt like a test she hadn't studied for, not because of grades, but because of people. She noticed how teachers mispronounced her name but never corrected themselves, how group projects always left her alone, how classmates laughed a second too long when she spoke. Nothing was ever big enough to complain about. That's how racism worked here, quiet, polite, smiling, at home. Amara's mother worked double shifts. Her father had passed years ago. There was no safety net. No backup school, no option to quit, so Amara endured. She told herself it would get better. She told herself to stay strong, but that morning when she saw that note on her desk, something cracked, because humiliation hurts more when everyone sees it and no one stops it. And for the first time, Amara wondered what would happen if she didn't stay quiet. The whispers didn't stop after the note, they followed her. When the teacher announced a group assignment, Amara felt the familiar knot in her stomach. Names were called, groups formed. She wasn't picked again. She stood there for a moment, pretending to check her notebook, pretending it didn't matter, but it did. She could hear them, low laughs, murmurs about her clothes. Her hair, her voice. One boy leaned back in his chair and smirked when their eyes met. Not openly cruel, just enough to remind her of her place. Amara sat alone. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened her book. She tried to focus on the words, but the room felt heavy. Every sound felt louder. Every glance felt sharper. Then it happened. The teacher asked a question, a difficult one. Amara knew the answer. She always did. She raised her hand. The room reacted instantly. Snickers, a few exaggerated sighs. Someone whispered, "Of course she would." The teacher hesitated, then nodded. Amara spoke, calm, clear, correct. The room went quiet for half a second. Then the laughter returned, not because she was wrong, but because she was confident. Confidence wasn't something they liked on her. Her cheeks burned, her heart raced, she wanted to disappear, but something inside her pushed back. She looked around at the faces, the same faces that laughed, the same faces that stayed silent. She realized something painful. They weren't confused. They weren't ignorant. They were comfortable watching her shrink. That realization hurt more than the insults. Throughout the day it continued, a comment about her accent, a joke about where she came from, a mocking clap when she answered correctly, each moment stacked on the last. Pressure built, her chest felt tight, her breath shallow. By the time the final class arrived, Amara was exhausted, emotionally drained but also awake. The teacher announced presentations, students groaned. Then said something unexpected. Each student will present alone today. A ripple of discomfort moved through the room. Amara felt her heart pound. This was it. This was the moment she usually feared. Standing alone, being seen, being judged, her name was called. She stood. The room prepared to laugh again, but Amara didn't rush. She didn't apologize. She didn't shrink. She walked to the front slowly. Every step felt heavy, but also deliberate. She looked at the class, and instead of fear, they saw something else. Stillness. The laughter faded, not because they respected her, but because they were curious. And curiosity can be dangerous. Amara took a breath, not a shaky one, a steady one. She began speaking, not loudly, not angrily, honestly. She talked about history, about voices erased, about contributions ignored. Then she shifted. Her words became personal. She spoke about sitting alone, about notes left on desks, about laughter that pretended to be harmless. The room changed, you could feel it. She didn't accuse anyone by name. She didn't point fingers. She described experiences, and the people who caused them recognized themselves. Faces shifted, eyes dropped. Then someone laughed, a sharp sound, nervous, defensive. Amara stopped speaking. She turned her head slowly, looked straight at the boy who laughed. The room froze. She didn't raise her voice. She asked one question, a simple one. "Why is my pain funny to you?" Silence. The teacher stood up slightly. Unsure, uncomfortable, no one answered. Amara continued. She talked about being black, not as a label, but as a reality. She talked about being watched, judged, doubted. Her voice didn't break. That made it worse. That made it powerful. By the time she finished, no one was laughing. Some students looked ashamed, others stunned. The teacher cleared their throat too late. What shocked everyone wasn't anger, it wasn't yelling. It was dignity. Amara returned to her seat. The room stayed silent long after, because humiliation had just changed sides. The days after were different, not perfect, but different. Teachers paid more attention. Students spoke more carefully. Some avoided her. Others approached quietly. Awkward apologies, short conversations. Amara didn't demand anything. She didn't celebrate. She simply existed, and that changed everything. The school addressed bullying, workshops were announced, policies were discussed, but the real change was quieter. It was in the way people paused before laughing, in the way her name was said correctly, in the way silence no longer felt like defeat. Amara learned something important. Standing up doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks calm, steady, unmovable. She never asked to be brave, but she became it anyway. And somewhere, another black girl watching this story might realize something too. You don't have to disappear to survive. Sometimes, being seen is the most powerful thing you can do. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of moments you stayed silent, or moments you wish you hadn't, you're not alone. Stories like this matter. Voices like this matter. Support this channel by liking the video, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who needs to hear it. Together, we can turn silence into strength.